Hey, what's up guys? This is Brad with Osan Fitness, and I'm going to do another form check video. This is another one that I promised that I would do, and again, with me being on leave, it took me some time to get around to it, but I wanted to make sure that I followed up with my promise to do this because the gentleman that asked for this is a guy that's kind of been a big supporter of the channel, and so I'm always grateful for the support. So anytime that I have an opportunity to kind of give directly back, especially to someone that's been so active on the channel, it means a lot for me to do so. So Jason, I appreciate your patience in allowing me to kind of get around to this one. So I know that you said you didn't necessarily need a video response, but I feel like a video response is going to be much more articulate and easier for me to kind of convey my thoughts rather than trying to type it out. And I think it'd just take more time and energy to type it, and also it has kind of the secondary benefit of being able to help anyone else that may be having similar issues as well that happens to take a look at this. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at your video, and then we'll get around to doing the form check. So here we go. All right, Jason, let's go ahead and take a look at your form check here. Now, Jason did something different by having this split screen, so that's pretty cool. That's kind of a unique and novel way to do it, something that hasn't been done, at least with me yet, so I really appreciate that. So let's take a look at this kind of frame by frame and take a look here. All right, so right here, you see this little bit of rounding that happens right here in the mid-back. I'm looking at the side shot. That's the same kind of issues that we've seen in other form checks before, and that can be maybe two issues. One is it could be potentially some mid-back weakness, right? So working on some mid-back development might help that, but this also could potentially be a bracing issue. If you aren't, see right there, that little bit of cave specifically, it's kind of fast, but if you aren't bracing abdominally well enough, that can also contribute to that cave. All right, so then kind of looking at the front, the knees look good. They look like they're tracking a little bit, tracking right. Now that left knee, it might just be the angle where that left knee looks a little funny, but I think that's just because we're off center. Go through, next rep, reset. And now the other thing I'm seeing here, Jason, is I'm not seeing a really concerted effort of drawing the shoulder blades back. So right here, what I would want to see is pulling those shoulders back, and then I think that would also help negate some of that rounding that you end up getting a few frames later. See, as you start to pull, you get a little bit of that give in that mid back. It's very subtle, but it's still there. And it's important to note that anytime, everyone, no matter who you are, if the weight becomes sufficient enough, you're going to begin to see some major breakdowns in form. One of the best ways to overcome form breakdowns is to become strong enough to overcome that weight, but then also, doing some tweaking of the form can also contribute to being able to overcome some of these weaknesses. But irrespective of who you are or how strong you are, when the weight becomes sufficient enough, you're going to see some breakdowns. So I think that's an important thing to say, is it doesn't matter if you're deadlifting 400 pounds or 4,000 pounds, at some point in time, you're going to begin to see these breakdowns. So it's useful to kind of look at these, because as you get stronger, you can see what you're working at. Now you see this position here, this is kind of a bad position. You see how rounded that back is? What that ends up leading to is a much more difficult time trying to straighten that back out. Because look, as those hips are starting to come forward, and you got to work real hard to draw that back and get that back upright and erect from that rounded position. As you get heavier and closer to your maximal weight, that's going to become a more and more difficult strain on the back. So something to be aware of. So I think keeping your back in position at the outset would help you out much more. And then I'm also seeing that that butt looks like it's kind of far out. So you want ideally, you know, to have the butt as close under the shoulders as possible. So the further back you have your butt, the more you're increasing this moment arm, and it's going to increase the difficulty of the lift. So I would like to see you scoot your butt up underneath you, and stack yourself up a little bit more in your lift. And I think that will also contribute a lot to you know, a more successful lift for you and keep you in a better position with your back. See if you're see how far under or how far away your butt is from your hips right now. From this position, I would like to see your back in a more upright position and your hips a little bit further underneath you. And I think that would contribute a lot to making the lift more successful and more comfortable for you. And then it's basically rinse repeat for the remainder of the reps. Those are a few of the major things that I see. I wouldn't also, you know, you have your head kind of in this very far back position. I would look to kind of have your head more in a more neutral position. You know, how far up your ceiling you're looking. That can just be as you start to pull, you're drawing that head back and really trying to draw yourself back. And I think that again is kind of a symptom of the fact of your back being kind of out of position, and that feeling of straining to try to straighten your back out. I think that's a byproduct of that. So a more neutral head position, I think, especially as you know you finish out the lift, I think would be better and less strain on you. And so then there you go as you get it up and lock it, you come back kind of neutral. I'd like to see your head stay neutral throughout. Let's see what else, if there's anything else we see here. I don't see any real major form flaws up front. Let's see, we're just kind of looking at your breathing here. As you're breathing. Pronounce breath, brace. Make sure that when you're bracing, and I don't know how you're actually doing this or how it feels to you, but you know you should be tightening up your abdomen as though you're about to take a punch to the stomach. And it looks like maybe you could do some more on the bracing here. Again, just kind of seeing the position that you're in, being kind of slumped. I think better abdominal bracing would help correct this to some degree. Some additional mid-back work may help correct this to some degree. And then also, like I said, getting those hips scooted up underneath your shoulders will also contribute to the lift looking and feeling probably a little bit better for you. I think feet are in a decent position. So overall, I think that's pretty good. All right, Jason, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of take a look at your video and appreciate the opportunity to attempt to help you. Hopefully, you know, some of the points that I've made make sense to you, and hopefully some of the things that I'm recommending in terms of making the lift a little bit more comfortable, might help you as well. In terms of exercises and things like that, for that mid back, we've talked before with other form checks about some row work. Either bent row, seal row, pendulum row, even just a seated cable row. I think that those are all real great things. Focus on drawing those shoulders back and pinching the scapula back, squeezing that back. But I think that will have a very good carryover into the deadlift, keeping that mid back real tight so that you're not giving up any position in the thoracic spine. I think that will help contribute to your success in the deadlift and allow you to get heavier. Obviously this isn't your 1 rep max, but it is definitely sufficient enough where we can begin to see some form flaw. I think that your leg position is pretty good. I don't see any real lateral movement with the knee. I think what I was seeing in the beginning, like I mentioned, is just a product of the camera angle for that front view. And yeah, I think that trying to get your hips up underneath you will help out. So doing some stuff like doing some good mornings for you, I think would also benefit that lower back strength, and then also help kind of work pushing those hips forward. Some cable pull-throughs I think would be very good. Cable or band pull-throughs would be very good. You may also do some weighted like hip thrusters, where you kind of perch your back on a bench, have a weight across your hips, and then really work to squeeze the glutes and drive the hips forward. I think that those may have some good carryover for you. And then doing, again, the same recommendation that I've had in other videos, using some band work, I think will also help you get the feeling of keeping your hips underneath you and wanting to stack. Because the bands, when you do band work, it's pretty unforgiving. And when you're doing band work, they tend to kind of highlight when you're out of position. And so, at least for me and for the people that I've dealt with personally and kind of hands-on, it's a really great way of demonstrating for you when you're really out of position, and it kind of punishes you for it. So doing some banded work, I think, for you would be real great in helping to kind of give you that patterning to keep the hips up underneath you. Now, you're not exactly going to be able to keep your hips 100% up underneath you, but the more that you can decrease that moment arm, the more effective you're going to be on the deadlift. Anyway, I think that that's probably some fairly decent feedback for you at this point. If you have any questions, or there's anything that I've said that I haven't been super clear on, or that you're want a little bit more clarity, for you, Jason, or for anyone else that happens to view this, leave me a comment in the box below. I'll be sure to respond and try to better clarify what it is I've said or what I mean. And beyond that, if you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, leave in the chat box below. I'll be sure to respond. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity, Jason and any other viewer, sending me videos and giving me the opportunity to try to help you. Hopefully some of these things give you guys some ideas about how you can approach your deadlift and perhaps be a little bit more successful. Yeah, I think that that's pretty cool. Now, if you guys like the video, I would appreciate you helping me out with a like, a share, and if you haven't subbed, that would be pretty cool if you did that too. The first link in the description box below also is the Train Despite merch. So if you haven't checked it out, pop over, take a look. You can get 50% off still for the next couple of days on anything on the store there, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, guys, remember, no matter what it is you think you can't do, get in the gym, train despite, seek advice to make yourself better too, because not all of us know everything, and so it's good to get other opinions and get some insight on what you're doing. So Jason, I definitely applaud the effort here. And yeah, either find an excuse or you find a way, guys. So appreciate you guys watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.